What's going on, everyone? TJ here, and it is Masters Week, the best week, I would say, by any standards in the golf calendar year. And in addition to Masters kicking off, we've got the next version of the Scramble on Underdog. The Scramble returns, locking this week. So on this stream, we're going to first do a quick check-in of my current status in the Scramble, and then we're going to look at this Scramble Returns contest, give a quick overview of how the contest works and the strategy for the contest, and then we're going to go ahead and do a draft. So yeah, we've got the Scramble Returns here. It is 37% full, has really started to pick up in the past day, I would say. So it'll probably end up filling, but there's a small chance of some overlay. You play 2 qualifying rounds. You draft in a group of 6, 2 qualifying rounds, and then a 390 person final. Before we dive into that, though, quick update on my teams from the Scramble. So I have advanced 7 to round 3 here. You can see the 7 teams here. I had 78 in round 2. So advancing less than 10% of them on paper does not sound great, but I'm actually pretty fine with it. I knew going in with my strategy that round 2 was going to be the most difficult for me, but I feel pretty good about how these teams are set up to fare in rounds 3 and then in the final in round 4. So I can check out the 7 teams I have remaining here. I also feel pretty good about the differentiation in players I have across the team. So hopefully we can get at least one of these through to the Scramble final. And then now let's do a little look at what we're working out here for the Scramble returns. As I was already starting to say, 6-man drafts. Same thing as the regular Scramble. You draft 10 golfers. The best 6 scores are going to count in each tournament. In the first round, 1 of 6 from your group advance. In the second round, you then get put into a group of 12 and 1 of 12 advance. So really tough advance rate there. And then that leads all to the 390 seat final. And just like the Scramble, scoring is completely based on birdies, pars, etc. Finishing place does not matter. It's all about volume. And just like with the Scramble, it's really important that you get at least 6 golfers playing in every event. So you want to have a well-balanced team across both the signature events, the majors, and then some of these side events. What I did here was take a look at each of the rounds and the tournaments that get played, and these are the standings from last year, because the point I want to illustrate is that there are a couple key tournaments that not a lot of the studs are playing in, and then B, also happen to be very high scoring tournaments from a fantasy standpoint. As we're looking at here in round 1, there's 4 tournaments. You have the Masters, obviously Augusta, difficult course. You can see the scores here comparing to some of the others. And then Truist Championship, formerly known as the Wells Fargo, another difficult signature event there where scoring from a fantasy perspective is not going to be all that high. And the big outlier and the key to advancing out of your first group is the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Because not only is it a group where most of the big name golfers are not going to be playing, but it's a tournament that is extremely high scoring. I mean, look at this here. T24 shoots minus 15. That's better than the winner of the Masters and basically better than the winner of the Truist. So getting people into that are going to be playing the CJ Cup Byron Nelson is absolutely critical. You can actually go and look that up. I don't have that pulled up. I should have pulled that up. But yeah, we can go ahead and pull that up at some point, potentially. But yeah, CJ Cup is critical to round 1. And then you get to round 2. Now you've got 5 tournaments. And the Canadian Open really stands out as the outlier there. Another tournament that not a lot of people playing. You have the Memorial and the US Open, which are 2 of the tougher tracks that people are going to play. And then you have the Canadian, where a decent amount of birdies are going to be made. And then in the final round, the week 17, if you will, for PGA, the two key tournaments are the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere Classic, especially the John Deere Classic. I mean, just an absolute birdie fest. Davis Thompson winning last year at 28 under par, and very limited superstars are playing in these tournaments. So critical to try to construct your rosters accordingly. And as we dive into the drafts, that's kind of what I'll talk through there. All right, enough strategy talk. Let's get on into the draft. I only have 5 left. I did the same strategy with this that I did in the regular scramble, in that I drafted very early. So I did most of my drafts like weeks, if not months ago, pretty much when the tournament first opened. I can go ahead and look at show you what my exposures look like. We go exposure, we filter by tournaments, and the scramble returns. All right, so yeah, I'm the 3 guys that I am super heavy on are Taylor Pendrith, Jason Day, and Sungjae Im. The reason for this is these are 3 people that are pretty much locks to play in the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson, Taylor Pendrith is the defending champion there. Jason Day has played it each of the past 3-4 years. And then Sungjae Im already committed there, a CJ sponsor. And then you'll see some other guys here that just play in a lot of those different events, whether it be the Byron Nelson, the Canadian Open, the Rocket Mortgage, or the John Deere. And then mixing in guys like Andrew Novak, Sam Stevens, Keith Mitchell, Harry Hall that play in those side events. But we have already filled up our draft. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We are drafting out of the 2 position. I actually did not take a lot of Rory McIlroy early in my drafts, but I will take him here for the stream for sure. Rory plays in the Canadian Open. The thing that is a little questionable about Rory is that he may sit out some signature events. Last year, for example, I believe he didn't play in the Travelers, which is a huge tournament for that final round. So for those reasons, I don't necessarily love Rory, but I know that he has been the consensus number 2, not just in ADP, but I believe in all of the sites out there ranking as well. So we'll take Rory with our second pick, assuming that Scotty goes first. If Scotty goes second, or Scotty somehow does not go first, then we will take Scotty. Scotty, obviously the best golfer in the world, but not only that, he's already committed to playing in the CJ Cup. All right, so let's go ahead and take Rory with our second pick. Now, the key as I'm going through this is I'm likely going to target 6 golfers that are qualified for all the signature events and are going to play in all of those and are going to play in the majors as well. And then I'm going to target 4 golfers that are not in those events. Let's go PGA Tour and check out the current FedEx Cup standings, because that is what is going to determine. So you go to the PGAtour.com website, you go over to the signature events in the top right, and then qualification. We have the top 50 from last year that are automatically qualified, but then you have the AON Next 10 and the AON Swing 5. So all of these 10 golfers have already qualified for the RBC Heritage, which takes place in the first round. This Swing 5 has qualified for the RBC Heritage too. I believe this list is actually going to go down lower too, because I'm pretty sure guys like Nick Taylor, Minwoo Lee, and Joe Highsmith, they won. So they will get in from winning. So I believe Novak will get in. I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I feel like that's true. But yeah, you want to be aware of this, because not only is it who's in the RBC Heritage, but then they also just have the most points throughout the season. So someone like JJ Spawn is likely to continue getting qualified for these signature events. There's a fine line between being overqualified. You could argue that JJ Spawn actually has so many points that he doesn't even need to keep playing the side events. So interesting dynamic there. All right, let's check out the board so far. All right, some big names being taken, not necessarily in line with ADP. Someone like Tom Kim, for example, falling a bit relative to what he typically does. Don't pay attention to my rankings. I don't even know what my rankings are. If you're curious about those are not really intentional. Okay, Tom Hoagie goes there. I mean, we're going to go ahead and take Tom Kim here and be really happy with that. Tom Kim is somebody that is not qualified for all the signature events by default. However, he is likely to get into all of them either via his world ranking or via a sponsor's exemption. He's also qualified for the Masters and maybe some of the other majors. I actually do not know for sure on that. But yeah, I really, really like a Rory Tom Kim start there. Tom Kim likely to play in the Byron Nelson, likely to play in the Canadian Open. Man, all right, we got some interesting picks going on here, which is great. Great for us. We love to see it. I'm going to go ahead and take my guy Eric Cole here to get a little bit of volume in there. I had my concerns about Rory's volume. Eric Cole is the ultimate volume guy. He's going to play literally every single event except for the majors. He's in all the signature events. He's going to play all of the side events as well. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and take Eric Cole. And I really, really like this start. McIlroy, Tom Kim, Eric Cole. Loving that. Let's go CJ Cup, Byron Nelson Field. Yeah, so on the website here, you can already see the commits for the CJ Cup. So, like, I think Eric Cole, is Cole committed? Yeah, Eric Cole is already committed. I don't think Tom Kim is technically committed yet. Yeah, Tom Kim has not committed yet. But I think he's likely to play. I think he's likely to play it. All right, with our next pick, some of the guys that I like in this range, I like Robert McIntyre, going to play the Canadian Open as the defending champion. Well, he's gone, but Stefan Jaeger is qualified or committed to the CJ Cup. Yeah, so Jaeger's in the Byron Nelson. Will Zalatoris is in the Byron Nelson. Jason Day is not yet committed, but frequents the Byron Nelson with help getting out the front round. Okay, so Day goes. Jaeger and Zalatoris, I like both of them because not only of the CJ Cup, but they are also likely to play in the Rocket Mortgage, I believe. So we are going to go ahead. We're going to take Stefan Jaeger here. We're going to take Stefan Jaeger. And I don't know, maybe we double it back and also take Will Zalatoris. That would make us really, really strong in the first round. Would want to make sure that we get some. I mean, we don't necessarily need anyone else from Byron Nelson. Cameron Young is somebody that I've taken quite a bit of. He's just not been playing very well, though. That's my problem with Cameron Young. He doesn't score very many points. He's just kind of all over the place, but he will play the Canadian Open. He will play the Rocket Mortgage in all likelihood. So we've got a bit of a decision point there. Well, let's take Willie Z. All right, now we've got 5 golfers. 4 of them are signature event guys, although Tom Kim is somebody that is likely to be in many of the signatures too. I'm going to need somebody from the John Deere Classic JT Poston played in it last year. Signature event guy that played there. So he is on my list here of somebody that I'm interested in with my next pick. We're also going to want somebody else from the Canadian Open. You got Nick Taylor as an option. Later on, someone like Adam Hadwin. Michael Kim is a good pick here because he's not auto qualified for the signatures, but he's a huge volume guy. He's very likely to play all of the events. He's qualified for the Masters. He's already into the RBC Heritage. Really like Michael Kim. If he drops to me here, I'll take him. And then yeah, I think my ideal situation here is to go with Michael Kim and JT Poston, and then on the next go around target somebody from the Canadian Open. Although I mean I already have Rory and Eric Cole who are going to play there, so I'm really looking pretty good overall. Okay, let's take Michael Kim. Can see the balance here. I've got 4 signature event guys and 2 non-signature event guys, but the non-signature event guys that I'm targeting are in the Masters and in the RBC Heritage, and have a good chance to be in some others in the future too. We're going to take JT Poston with our next pick, assuming that this guy does not take him, and we're going to be feeling really good about our team. Okay, yeah, I mean that's bad. This team has no chance. This team is not going to advance. You definitely should not be taking anyone from Liv. Bryson DeChambeau is not the play. All right, let's look at some teams here. So yeah, this team right here, not looking so hot. This team here is looking good for Byron Nelson, Tom Hoagie likely to play, Aaron Rai, Jason Day, Siwoo Kim, all of them likely to play in the CJ Cup. So I like that roster construction thus far. And Daniel Berger, also a good pick. So Hargis is doing a nice job with their team. Also looking pretty good here for Brad. It's all going to be about how they finish their team, right? Are they going to add some non-signature event guys in addition to all of these signature events? Not bad here for a final cut, but they're lacking some firepower. All right. Now, we have 3 more picks. We are looking for one more signature event guy. Or no, 2 more. We still need 2 more signature event guys. 2 more signature event guys. I might actually take Sahith Theegala here if he falls to us. Sahith Theegala, a Canadian Open guy, so fills a nice hole there. Also plays in the Scottish Open, and then, of course, will be in all of the majors. JJ Spawn is another, I already talked about him, but he's at the top of the list in terms of the AON next 10. So he'll likely get into a bunch of those contests. Oh no, so I do have 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 signature event guys. So I need one more signature event guy, and I like Theegala for it. Gives me Canadian Open, gives me just another actual good golfer on my team, which is important. So let's go ahead with Theegala. I like him there. It's crazy because I talk about how in the early drafts I was doing, there's guys I was getting good values on, and then it was like Theegala was like a second round pick. So I have plenty of drafts where I took Theegala in the second or third round. All right, and now we're gonna fill it out with 2 volume guys. Two volume guys. I mean, JJ Spawn and Lucas Glover are both towards the top here and are just historically good volume guys. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take Spawn. And then I've also been trying to like spread out my exposure. So I'm going to take Gerard with my last pick because he just kind of came onto the scene these past couple of tournaments. And so I do not have much exposure to him. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him more for a portfolio management standpoint. But that can be any golfer of your choosing. We see it in my exposures, but I've got all kinds of different golfers that fit that profile. Andrew Novak, Sam Stevens, Keith Mitchell, Harry Hall, JJ Spawn, Justin Lower, Mark Hubbard, RIP, Alex Noren, 20%. He doesn't seem like he's going to play at all. Lucas Glover, Doug Gim, all those guys, McCarty, Bo Hostler, Kevin Yu. So Michael Kim. So I've just been trying to sprinkle around the non-signature event guys that I pick from a portfolio management standpoint. But I'm really liking this team I've got here. Plus, by having Michael Kim, JJ Spawn, Tom Kim, guys that are not auto qualified for all the signatures, but are likely to get into them. I like that in the event that Rory does skip an event, I'll be able to backfill them and still have 6 guys playing. Yeah, I feel really good about this team. After these last couple of picks finish up, we'll review the draft board, review my team, review the other teams, and just give a quick thoughts on each of the teams and why I think they are either good or bad, and any potential holes that I think that they have. And then maybe we'll do one more draft as well. Get a second draft in and then call it a night and get this out and posted. All right, let's go back to that draft and team. All right, so my squad first off. Let me post this out here so we can see it all. All right. Rory, Tom Kim, Eric Cole, Stefan Yeager, Will Zalatoris, Michael Kim, JT Poston, Sahith Theegala, JJ Spawn, Ryan Gerard. First off, 6 signature event guys, 4 non-signature event guys. Of my 4 signature event guys, they're all playing RBC Heritage. 2 of them are playing in the Masters, and they're likely to be continuing to play all the side events and have a chance to qualify for future signature events. So I like them for that reason. I'm hopeful that this team will have at least 6 golfers in every single event. If we look at the CJ Cup, I expect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hopefully 7 of them. Gives me some wiggle room there if one of those guys doesn't play in the Canadian Open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 7. So it gives me wiggle room if one of them doesn't play. And then I think it should be the same with the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere. So I feel solid that I should have at least 5 in each of those events, if not 6. Let's look at each of the other teams. WC Bias. Already talked about his team. The problem with this team is that they're going to have Scotty Scheffler and I guess Bud Colley, random that they picked them. They're the only people that they're going to have in Byron Nelson. So they're not going to advance out of this first round. That's just not going to happen. This second team seems pretty solid. You've got Davis Riley and Daniel Berger They're probably going to be weak at some of the like Canadian Open. They're going to be super weak at Canadian Open. They're going to have Aaron Rye 1, Shane Lowry 2, Berger potentially 3, 4. And no, they're going to have 5 there. Yeah, that team's fine. Brad's team seems pretty fine. Wookie's team. Yeah, so like Wookiees is only going to have 3 people in the CJ Cup in Byron Nelson. Sung Jae, Jordan Spieth, and Andrew Novak. So they're going to have a hard time advancing out of this pod. And this is a pretty good team too. So yeah, I mean, 2 teams that I feel are not going to advance out of the pod, and 4 teams that are pretty good. So that's kind of the game that you're playing here. There's going to be a lot of people that are drafting teams that are just totally dead to even advance out of your pod. And even if they are, a lot of them are maybe not going to be built for the second round. They're not going to have anyone in Canadian, and so they're going to struggle there. And that's kind of the bet we're playing here. I mean, the tournament is incredibly top heavy and incredibly like the structure is not great. 1 of 6, 1 of 12 is pretty crazy, and the payout structure is massively top heavy. 50K to first, and then 1,000 to 10th. So yeah, I mean, you're playing for top 4 or bust, really top 2 or bust. So yeah, that's why I like going with these aggressive builds, getting the guys that are going to be playing in the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere Classic when you get to that final round, and then letting the chips fall where they may. All right, cool. We got to see one from the number 2 spot. Now we're going to see what it looks like at the 6-7 turn. Should yield quite a different build in terms of the players that we end up getting. We'll do this draft, and then we will shut it on down. I think I'll then have 3 left after this. So if you're out there and you want to get on into the mix, we've got what, two more days here to draft. It's Monday night right now, so if I get this posted tonight, you've got all day Tuesday and Wednesday to draft. Locks Thursday morning. Hopefully this was helpful. It's all about the roster construction. In a sport where there's no positions, roster construction is actually very important, because the positions are whether or not they're qualified for signature events and what kind of tournaments these golfers are going to be playing in. Is really what it comes down to. All right, chalk off the board so far. And some of these stuffs are crazy. Like Maverick McNeely going in the 3rd is pretty wild. I was consistently taking Maverick McNeely in the 4th round. Sepp Straka was go. I have teams where I got Sepp Straka in like the 7th round. I have some teams where I have 5 of these top 10 ADPs. Maybe I can find some of them because it's cool. All right, Taylor Pendrith has been my highest owned guy, but for good reason. The reason I like Pendrith is because he plays the CJ Cup and the Canadian, which are critical to getting you through round 1 and round 2. And then I guess I'll take Sepp Straka. I mean, it still seems crazy to me to take him at 8, but I don't really want to take Sungjae because I've already taken plenty of him. So let's go with Taylor Pendrith and Sepp Straka. On my other screen, I'll see if I can find some of my super teams so that I can brag about how good my Sklansky Bucks are. Because it's all about them Sklansky Bucks, you know. You know the deal. I know for any of you football bros out there, there's tons of movement in the big board, particularly with the rookies. So I feel like this is a similar vibe where you can just get a ton of ADP value if you're drafting if you know what you're doing and you're drafting before any of these sites come out with their rankings. All right. Draft is going along. Oh yeah, so here's one of my super teams. And let me compare it to current ADP. Current ADP. All right, so yeah, here I've got Sung J M, Taylor Pendrith, Maverick McNeely, Akshay Bhatia, and Sep Straka. 5 players that are all now in the top 10. They're all towards the back of the first round, but Pendrith, Straka, M, Bhatia, and McNeely. Yeah, so 5 of the top 10 players on a roster here. Sep Straka pick 35, now going at 8. Maverick McNeely pick 23, now going at number 3. Akshay is going in the top 10. Just pretty crazy, the movement that has happened. All right, let's check out the board. All righty. So, guys, yeah, again, it's going to be the same guys that I mentioned previously, but I like Bobby Mack. I like Danny McCarthy, Stefan Yeager, Will Zalatoris. All of these guys are guys that I like. Let's see. Let's go Yeager and Denny here. Yeager and Denny. Pendrith and Yeager, 2 guys that are going to be playing the CJ Cup. Straka and Denny, 2 guys that at least last year played the John Deere Classic. Of course, that doesn't mean they're going to play this year, but they're also likely to play the Charles Schwab Challenge. So a well-balanced start here. Not necessarily the greatest golfers per se, but in terms of volume, these guys are all grinders and they definitely have the upside to do well in a given tournament. And Pendrith and Yeager also last year played the Rocket Mortgage. Pendrith was in a different spot last year, so he may just sit that out. But Yeager's a grinder. I would not be surprised to see him playing in the Rocket Mortgage. We're going to need one more guy from the Canadian Open. Actually, go ahead and star Cameron Young here. If I can get Cameron Young with my next pick, I like that. And then I might just continue on this Michael Kim kick. I'm not saying to take Michael Kim every time. For me, I just was not taking him early on. And so this is another exposure type play for me personally. He's become a really strong play with his Masters qualification, with where he sits in the FedEx Cup standings. And he's just not one of the guys that I was taking earlier on. So I've been trying to load up with him in my later drafts. That's all there is to that. Yeah, I would love to get Cameron Young and Michael Kim here. That would be pretty nice. God, if only Cameron Young could just play some good golf, though. He puts up some big numbers, man. All right, let's do it. Cameron Young, Michael Kim. Nice balanced start. I've now got 5 signature event guys, 1 non-signature event guy in Michael Kim. And we'll see what falls to us next. All right, now looking at this list, I like Poston, as we already saw. I already took JJ Spawn, comboed with him, so let's not do that again. Okay, Poston is picked. Good pick there. Nicely done, nicely done. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. Cameron Davis is a Rocket Mortgage guy. And I believe we'll play the Charles Schwab as well, or is likely to at least. Potentially. Man, do I take JJ Spawn again? I don't want to just repeat the same draft. Glover, I'm just not as confident that Glover is going to necessarily put in the volume because he's in the signatures. Yeah, like Glover is not committed here yet. Novak is. Is JJ Spawn committed here? No, he's not committed either. What about Kevin Yu? Kevin Yu is committed. How about Cameron Davis and Kevin Yu? Kevin Yu is also in the Masters. So now I've got my 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My 6 signature event guys. I got Michael Kim and Kevin Yu. I feel pretty well balanced. And now we're going to look to add 2 more volume guys. Andrew Novak and Matthew McCarty are 2 interesting ones. I'm looking at these 2. Looking at those 2 to round out the squad. Check out the board. All right, this team is my favorite, probably JS727. Oh, but these are good picks here. Maybe I don't even need to take McCarty. Maybe I'll take Bridgman. I already have both Kevin Yu. I already have 8 guys in the Masters with Kevin Yu and Michael Kim and all them. So I think Novak and Bridgman as 2 guys that are grinders and are qualified for RBC Heritage and are going to be battling to, well, see, Novak, I guess I'm not 100% sure. I think he's going to be in there. But guys that are going to be constantly battling this edge and going to need to be putting in volume. So let's go Novak and Bridgman to finalize things. Yeah, so, I mean, this team I don't feel as fantastic about as the other one because the golfers are not as good as I was able to get with that team that was anchored with Rory. But I do feel that I'm going to get a ton of volume out of this, and I know that I'm going to have 6 people in the CJ Cup. I know that I'm going to have at least 7 in all of these signature events. So I like my chances of getting out of the first round, and then it has really good balance for the Canadian in round 2, and then for the high scoring Rocket Mortgage and John Deere Classic events once I make it to the final. And there we have it, everyone. The Underdog Scramble returns. Fun tournament, fun structure. Hopefully this was helpful as you maybe look to get into some drafts yourself and think things through. I know that I repeated a lot of the same concepts over and over and over, but that's kind of the point because they're important concepts. You want to do well in this contest and not only have a chance to advance out of your pod, but have a chance to win if you are fortunate enough to get a lineup into the final. All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the Masters and good luck.